All right. Hi, everybody. See, we've got people starting to file in here. I'm going to give everybody just a couple minutes to get joined. Usually have people, coming in over the first few minutes. So I'm going to start off here in a couple with just some introductions. In the meantime, if you are already on, I'd love if everybody pop in the chat, what content you're specifically looking forward to hearing about today. If you have thoughts about what you'd like to see on these in the future, by all means, put those in. And again, we will get started here in just a minute. I see quite a few friendly faces out there. All right, we got Mark in here. A lot of the RealTech team, which is great. Regina. Hello, Regina. Robert from Summer House. Sorry, I'm personally just going through people I know better, but I encourage my coworkers, if you see one in the chat, say hello. Hey, Mike. Greetings to you as well, friend. All right, I'm gonna give everybody just another minute and then we will get started. All righty. Good deal. Hey, Hannah, glad you're on with us today. I saw that Sam invited you. I'm glad you're on. Okay, well, without further ado, I will go ahead and get us started. If we've got some stragglers, I'm sure we'll be able to get them caught up with the recording. Um, for those of you who have not joined one of the Real Insights webinars before, Real Insights is a webinar series that we put together at RealTech to help better connect our clients and property managers in the industry at large with the data that we have coming from a couple different sources. RealTech, all we do is build direct booking websites and run marketing campaigns for property managers. And so, we eat, sleep, breathe this information so that we can do our jobs better. And as a result, we've got it to share with you. So that's our main objective here, is to try to connect people with information that's going to help them be more successful with their businesses, help them drive more bookings, help them feel solidarity. I think there's power in community here. And so, as y'all are connecting with each other in the chat, you know, put your contact information if you're wanting people to reach out to you about certain things. A quick little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. If you will put any questions you have along the way into our Q&A panel, I'll be able to see those there. And if there's a good opportunity for me to kind of insert them into the conversation, I will. Otherwise, we do have some time reserved at the end to go back and answer questions. If you're not able to attend the whole thing and you have a question, put it in there. We'll make sure we answer it, and then it'll be in the recording when we send it to you after. All right. That said, I want to let the rest of the RealTech team who's on today introduce themselves. We'll start with Hannah.
Hey everyone, Hannah Dylewski here. I'm the Director of Marketing Services. Shout out to all of our marketing clients joining. I really hope you get some good takeaways. And for those considering, please don't hesitate to ever reach out to me. Happy to discuss, but really looking forward to dive into our content today.
Amber.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amber Martin, the Client Success Manager here at RealTech. A pleasure to be here again with you guys all today. We've got some really good data to go through and hope you guys get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and everybody, I'm Drew Hines, the CEO here at RealTech. Looking forward to spending some time together, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Okay, and then I suppose I did not introduce myself, which I usually do. I think a lot of folks here know me, but if not, my name is Brittens Greer. I'm the Director of Growth. I'm kind of going to be hosting this webinar and letting some of our experts talk, but I've worked in marketing and client success, and so I have a lot of interest in a lot of the topics we're talking about here today. I am going to add into our chat as well our info@realtechvr email address. Feel free to write that down if you have questions that come up later. Send them in to us. We're always happy to have a conversation. That being said, we'll jump on in here. So this first section of the webinar today is going to be focused on the real insights. We're going to look at search demand, which is being aggregated through our websites. What filters, what dates are people looking for? How much are they paying? Giving people a kind of an indicator on rates in different destinations. And we'll also, along the way, we're going to share some marketing strategies or even operational strategies that help you take advantage of that information. We're also going to look at the marketing benchmarks to understand how different marketing channels are performing right now, which I think can be pretty helpful in guiding your own strategy if you're making decisions right now about where to invest, where not to. And we'll talk a lot about that in both portions of the call today. We're also going to save some time to talk about kind of the current state of AI. Real Insights, it's all about keeping people up to date on what's happening, and that's obviously a huge piece of that puzzle right now. I am going to hand it over now to Amber to talk us through the search demand trends.
Awesome. So on this first slide here, we're going to take a look at our web demand trends. And the web demand data that we're sharing today is based on the last 6 months of search data and activity across our sites. So it gives us a really great overview on when travelers are searching and booking behaviors across the industry. So we'll start with a quick overview of how Q3 is looking right now. And you can see July, August through September, 10 nights is our median length of stay. And Q3 right now is taking up about 47% of our search demand. July holding 19%, August holding 13%, and September holding 10%. And with our median nightly rate, some ebbs and flows as well. July taking $417, August with $464, and September with $415. Now we're going to break this down a little bit further by each market, and we're going to start with our beach market. So here we're going to look at the length of stay and booking windows for our beach markets. In July, we can see that about 17% of our searches are being taken here with an average length of a stay of 11 nights. By August, we have, August is holding about 11% of our searches with an average length of stay of 10 nights. September is pacing at about 10% of our searches and 11 nights. And by October, we've got 9.1% of our searches and an average length of stay of 12 nights. Now, across all 4 months, beach travelers are consistently planning stays of about 10 nights or longer, which gives us a really nice chance to promote weekly stays. And I would even highlight mid-stay services you offer as an added bonus for the guests, but also an upsell opportunity for you. With the search demand for the next 4 months accounting in the beach market for about 48% of searches, I will note a little uptick that we have in Q4 that's holding a good portion of the rest of those searches. So we can see here it's ramping up for both the length of stay and percent of searches. So now is also a really great time to start promoting winter rather than waiting to the last minute so that we can gain some of those early bookings and run a few promotions if possible. This will really help train your guests to reserve their stay sooner. And the more occupancy that you can secure now, the less likely you'll be to find yourself competing against price to fill the calendar later on in the year. So let's see how that paces out looking at our rent forecast. So as we can see here, and I'll talk about the median for this since it gives us a true average on where our websites are going. July, we have a median of $504 per night. In August, it dips to $438 per night. By September, we're at $385, and October jumps back up to $412. Now, the median here shifts about 13 to 14% from July to August, and then about the same again from August to September. And then that pops slightly as we look into Q4. So the travelers looking for value are really going to like September. It appears to be one of the most attractive booking windows for those beach destinations, and those nightly rates are falling about 25% lower than our July and peak summer pricing. Something to think about while you're planning the next few weeks of your strategy. Last year, Labor Day fell on September 1st, so we more than likely felt that long weekend rush at the end of August. With it falling on the 7th this year, some late summer demand may exceed a little bit further into September. So it's important to make sure you're pricing accordingly throughout September and not going too low for that peak weekend window. Now let's shift again and look at our booking rates for our beach market. One thing that I noticed here that I thought was really important to call out is a really common assumption that more impressions mean more bookings. But as we can see in July 1st to August 31st, this slide is kind of proving that's not always true. Our one bedroom here is holding 12% of our impressions, but only 7% of our bookings for a booking rate of 6%. But when we look down to our 3 bedrooms, we have 18% of impressions, 26% of bookings, and a booking rate of 15.03, showing us really that some of these inventory types are just going to attract different shoppers and convert not always in the same way, while other units are consistently outperforming their share of demand like we're seeing in the 3 bedroom. Now, while we're shifting in from summer to late summer, early fall, you can see that demand kind of drops a little bit. These larger homes are remaining pretty resilient. The highest converting inventory for both of these periods is between that 3 to 5 bedroom range. So if you're deciding on where to focus on your marketing, I would spend a little bit more in the 3 to 5 bedroom segment, since that is often where the biggest opportunity exists. But once those are starting to fill up, highlighting similar bedroom sizes at similar pricing and similar rates will help get those smaller and larger properties filled. Just because somebody's looking for a 3 bedroom doesn't mean they won't snag a 4 bedroom at a similar price if they can. Now let's shift and take a closer look at our lake window, or I'm sorry, our lake markets, looking at our booking windows to start. Here we can see that July is holding 29% of our searches. A big bulk of the searches for the last 6 months have been in July, with an average length of stay of 8 nights. In August, we're holding 18% of searches with an average length of stay of 7 nights. By September, we've got 11.6 with an average length of stay of 7 nights again. And then October, it dips a little bit lower to 6.8% of searches, and the average length of stay averaging around 8 nights. Now, one thing I will call out here is that search demand does drop pretty dramatically from July to October, but the length of stay remains almost identical. I mean, we're at 8.42 nights in July to 7.53 in October. So demand may seem a little bit softer, but lake travelers are averaging a full week, reinforcing the importance of showcasing weekly stays. And I will call out that the July search trend will even out as we get closer to the fall. This is just a lot of last minute shoppers kind of looking for their quick 4th of July getaways. And one of the interesting things we're seeing in lake markets is how early guests are beginning to plan. Just adding these search percentages up shows us that roughly 2/3 of the searches are happening before October, which means that operators need to be thinking a little bit more about next year way ahead of time. What's even more interesting is that these travelers aren't booking short getaways. I mean, they are staying consistent with those week-long stays. But I will call out some particular jumps, like in January of 2027, we're looking at extended trips of 3 weeks or more. So the takeaway is pretty simple. Lake guests are planners, and operators who can get in front of them as early as they can will have the major advantage here. Now let's see what that looks like for our rent forecast for lake markets. Again, we're going to talk about the median here. So in July, we have a median of $478. By August, it is a median of 421. September, a median of 364, and October, a median of 412. So September is really going to be our value window here. Nearly 70%, nearly 25% drop in the median nightly rates between July and September. And then we have a little bit of a rebound as we head into October. So guests looking for September vacations are finding significantly lower rates than peak summer travel, creating a really good chance to talk about value, shoulder season experiences, anything we can to fill that calendar now, and kind of maximize our booking ability here. Now let's see what that means for booking rates in lake markets. Here we've got it split again to summer and then late summer, early fall. And I'll call out here that studio to 2 bedroom properties are kind of our conversion winners here. The studio in our summer months pacing at 16.3 for the booking rate, 1 bedroom at 22.3%, and 2 bedroom at 16.21. But 1 bedroom is punching well above its weight, representing less than 10% of the demand and capturing 15% of that booking. More than likely, this is going to be some smaller couples, maybe small families, really traveling for the adventure. As we move into fall, you'll see the booking rate softens a little bit here, but the majority of bookings are still concentrated in that 2 to 4 bedroom range, making these properties some of the most valued to market and optimize right now. Now, that doesn't mean that you should ignore the rest of your inventory. Actually, I will call out my favorite part of this chart, actually shows how well studios are doing and how they're just kind of quietly outperforming. In July and August, they only hold 5% of impressions, but they have 7% of the bookings and 16% of that booking rate. And then it continues in September and October. They actually hold less of the impressions at just 3%, but have bumped up to 9% of bookings and a booking rate of 16.7. So
It's a pretty high converting segment.
Yeah, right. By far the big highlight from this slide, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty interesting there.
All right, now let's shift. Last but not least, our mountain markets. Again, starting with length of stay and booking windows. In July, we have about 20% of our searches happening here, with an average length of stay of about 10 nights. By August, we're at 13% of searches and an average length of stay of 9 nights. By September, shifting again to about 9% of searches with an average length of stay of 8. And then looking into October, our percentage of searches is 6.1 with an average length of stay of 8 nights. So we see a clear softening from July through October, but mountain guests are behaving a little bit differently. Just like in Lake, where we saw some people planning a little bit more ahead, these guests are doing the same, but planning to stay a little bit longer, generating some of the highest booking values across all of the markets. So the big story here, and I'm sure it's no surprise to a lot of our mountain operators, but winter demand starts building long before winter. And this is really huge because it gives us a really awesome chance to split our marketing into two different traveler types. For our summer and fall guests, we can promote unique experiences, adventure, highlight leaf season coming and when the best time to travel is. And then right now, we can start marketing to our winter guests with early bird promotions, maybe even target some repeat guest campaigns and really ramp up our Google ad spend so we're getting more traction and in front of the right bookers. Now let's shift and see what that means for our rent forecast. The median for July is pacing at $324. By August, that is $336. In September, $369, and October at $339. Now, one of the biggest surprises here is how mountain markets are kind of maintaining a little bit more pricing power for longer than our other markets. The median rate is only moving about 14% from the lowest to highest, rather than a steady decline after summer like we saw in our other markets. So here, another really weird call out is that rates actually strengthened in September, where we saw them dip the lowest in the other two markets. And our premium inventory performs especially well in October, with that upper being at 674. Now let's take a look at what that means for our booking rate for mountain.
Yeah, and before I switch over to the slide, I also just want to call out there is in June kind of an anomalous looking piece of data. And I would call out for those who are curious, that's probably just a more limited data set there. Where not as many of our mountain managers who are in the chart have rates out that far. So we're probably just seeing a little bit of an anomaly right there, and that hence the differentiation.
Awesome. Thanks for calling that out, Britt. It was actually on our last webinar too, and I completely blanked on it this time. All right. So now looking at our booking rates for mountain, we can see that our highest impressions here are still coming from that 2 to 4 bedroom range, with the strongest conversion performance coming from the smaller properties. They're really dominating our summer conversions here. Likely a lot of adventure travelers, couples again, maybe solo travelers looking to experience something new. While in late summer and early fall, we're starting to favor properties that are a little bit better suited for families. Seeing this shift kind of makes a little sense for our mountain markets, but I anticipated it would change again as we get into our winter months pretty drastically. Now, that gives us a pretty high level overview of how markets are trending, and I'm going to hand it off to Hannah to talk a little bit more about the factors affecting all of this and some performance.
Totally. Thanks, Amber. Yeah, so before Amber unpacks this further in the different marketing channels and what that means, I wanted to set the table with a little bit of information here ahead of that piece of this. So what we are seeing right now is essentially a perfect storm. It's the exact point where intense macroeconomic pressure is meeting a massive AI disruption. And it's fundamentally altering the travel acquisition funnel. So in looking at the demand, only 45% of Americans are actually booking travel this summer. So more than half of the country is staying home, meaning the total pool of active travelers buying has shrunk dramatically before even looking at those marketing metrics. Households that are earning less than $100,000 annually are actively slashing their vacation plans due to inflation, tighter budgets. I think the biggest thing to call out here is, this is the middle class. The middle class vacation is taking a massive hit right now, which is directly squeezing high volume consumer travel brands. At the same time, AI is entering, as you all know, so the demand is shrinking, user behavior is shifting. 49% of users have adopted AI chat tools across various platforms. Users that are using AI for discovery, trip planning, and answering travel questions before they ever hit a traditional search engine. And because of this, traditional search is paying the price. Since Google has pushed AI overviews to the top of the search results page, that coveted #1 organic search spot has seen a 58% decrease in a click-through rate. So even if you win at SEO and rank first, Google is answering the question for them, keeping the user on the page and starving your site of that organic traffic. I think the biggest takeaway here is we are dealing with fewer travelers in the market. And the ones who are searching are increasingly being intercepted by AI. So relying on legacy organic traffic strategies in this environment is a losing battle. We have to adapt our funnel and make sure where the eyeballs are actually going, we are being represented in that landscape. So Amber's going to walk us through that a little bit more and through all of our aggregated stats on how we can pivot those strategies, adapt what it is that we're seeing from the economy standpoint, from the AI standpoint. So I'm going to pass it back to her to unpack that a little bit more, but setting the table here with those stats to arm you with what we're seeing.
Awesome. Well, now we're going to switch, take a look at the marketing benchmarks. And as you'll see in our charts, really backs up a lot of what Hannah's saying here. So starting with organic search, you can see that our median sessions kind of taking a dip. We're pacing fairly behind compared to 2025. Total traffic, as you can see, as we move from March, April to May, is dipping slightly, but organic traffic is really where we're starting to feel it. By March of 2026, our organic traffic was pacing at 2,535. By April, it's dipped to 2,287. But then by May is where we're really feeling it. It's at 1,726. Our conversion rates are kind of mirroring the same thing that we see here. But really, it is all just backing up that we're seeing fewer organic visitors than we did in 2025, which aligns really strongly with the broader changes we're seeing in search behavior and the rise of AI. Now, let's shift a little bit and we'll take a look about what that means for bookings. So with traffic down, what does that mean? We're seeing those fewer organic visitors a lot less than we did a year ago, but we're not seeing bookings decline at the same rate as we are seeing our sessions decline. And I feel like that's a really important distinction to measure here. The travelers who are finding vacation rental websites through search today appear to be arriving with a little bit more stronger intent because they're past that planning phase and are a little bit further into the booking funnel. And looking at our median bookings here, we can see that organic is still driving a really meaningful share of our bookings. Our total for May 2026 was 17 bookings, but our organic was pacing at 9 bookings, which is a 53% of the share of bookings. So organic search is still really important, and I wouldn't pull away from that. Hannah's going to give us a little bit more context into what we're seeing here and some strategies that'll help.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking to those decreases a little bit, first being the continued evolution of AI is eating into organic traffic, but not revenue. So not to get the two things confused. So it's the shift in discovery. We are seeing a massive behavioral shift. People aren't just searching anymore. They're using AI for discovery. They want instant answers, not just that link of clicks. So because AI tools answer questions directly, they are eating heavily into our organic traffic. If you've noticed a dip, which please let us know if you have in the comments, in that top of funnel clicks, you aren't alone. I think you all can resonate with that. Organic search is the most vulnerable channel right now because it's historically been the largest. The flip side of that with the economy It's not just AI, it is also the economy. The broader economy is contracting, and we are seeing a significant squeeze on demand across all acquisition channels, not just search. But why search feels like it is the most? When overall market demand drops, your biggest channels feel the biggest pinch. So, because organic search has traditionally been the heavy lifter for volume, the macroeconomic contraction is hitting it the hardest, which further emphasizing you should still maintain organic search, like Amber was mentioning. This is just explaining some of those decreases. So, I think the biggest takeaway here is traffic is being disrupted by AI, while the decreases in your revenue are driven by economy factors. Traffic for the sake of traffic is a legacy metric. In this environment, we need to be optimizing for conversion and revenue, not just vanity clicks. And Amber, we're going to segue into paid search next, and she's going to talk a little bit about how you can capitalize on those strategies to optimize for conversions in that sense.
Real quick, before we move on, I wanted to call out a question that Don had asked. Uh, do we know what percentage of US travelers were booking summer travel in 2025 versus the 45% in 26? If by chance anyone saw that when they were pulling this stat. If not, Don, what we will do is we'll look back and we'll get an answer to that question based off what data we have available and send it to you.
Yeah, Don, I don't have that
Oh.
on hand, but happy to follow up for sure.
All right.
Awesome. Well, now we're going to shift to talk about paid search. We're going to start with our click-through rate chart versus cost per click, and then our median ad revenue and our median cost. So looking at click-through rate, we can see that in 2025, we had an average cost per click of 1.44, but in 2026, that's actually improved pretty dramatically at just 95 cents per click. That is a 34% decrease, paying significantly less per click today, allowing our marketing dollars to go a little bit further. Now, with the decrease there, the click rate is also down. In 2025, we were seeing 11% click-through rate, but in 2026, we're pacing at only 7, which is about the same decrease we saw on our click rate. It is a 36% decline. So while clicks are less expensive, ads are earning fewer clicks overall. Now shifting to our revenue chart, I will say that this looks a little bit scarier than it actually is. While revenue is down, spend is actually down a lot more. So in 2025, our revenue was pacing at $27,917, and our spend was at 1,486. But in 2026, we've dropped that revenue by about 7 to 8,000, giving us 20,097, and our spend has dropped by about $500, which is giving us $996. So that is a revenue decline of 28%, but a spend decline of 33%. Now let's shift and see what that kind of looks like for our median bookings versus our median revenue per booking and conversion rate. So as we saw, paid search is generating fewer bookings, but these bookings are actually converting at a slightly lower rate, and the booking value remains roughly the same, about 37% fewer bookings compared to 2026. But with our revenue declines, we can see that this is driven more so by volume and not by booking. Our actual average booking or the average booking revenue is actually pacing at almost exactly the same. It's slightly up from 2026. So guests aren't spending less, fewer bookings are just occurring, making paid search one of the more effective ways to get in front of guests looking to book. It's off to Hannah again to give us a little bit more context and some strategies to help out.
For sure. Just adding here, in light of people spending less, I wanted to emphasize that Google Ads wins in a market pullback. When the market contracts, the gut reaction for most companies is to cut your ad spend, which is a huge mistake. This pullback creates a massive opening for companies willing to be aggressive. So as competitors retreat and lower their budgets, ad auctions become less crowded. This market contraction actually makes it more advantageous to be in Google Ads right now because you can capture market share at a lower relative cost. Google itself is tightening with changing AI formats and shrinking organic real estate. Relying purely on the algorithm to organically hand you traffic is a losing battle. Paid search gives you the control Google's organic layout is taking away. So ensuring that visibility, maintaining that top of the page placement, making sure that we're not relying on that organic discovery to drive that revenue and traffic. So if you are considering Google Ads, or if this is something that you're, talking with your client manager about, talk about your budget, what makes sense for you right now and what makes sense for you long term. That can change on a monthly basis, but it is definitely worth capitalizing on in this very moment.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Hannah and Amber. A lot of good information there with demand and the marketing side. Um, we're going to kind of switch gears here now and have a bit more of a conversation about AI search trends, the insights that we're seeing, what the impact's going to be, and then things you can do about it. Um, what was I going to say? It was important. I wanted to remind everyone, if you do have questions about the first half of content, again, please do email us, whether you're a client or not. We're happy to answer those questions without any sort of needless pitch. We just want to share information. With that, I'm going to kind of hand it over to Drew here to talk a little bit more about AI.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Brent. Hey, all. Again, I'm Drew Hines, CEO here at RealTech. For those who don't know me, I work closely with our service teams to support our clients. Therefore, I've made it a priority to stay informed on the rise of AI, its impact, and its potential for our industry. So I'm here today at the midpoint of 2026 to share some insights and high-level takeaways that you can use to better your business. So what can you expect to learn? Real quick, insights into the state of AI, an update on AI search trends, the impact on vacation rentals, and action items to take home.
So, Drew, on the topic of AI, Google recently made a pretty historic update to search. Tell everyone a little bit more about what that change was and what that really means for search marketing now.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would say this change is why I wanted to come and speak today, right? It's the big change to highlight. The introduction of AI search mode to Google as its semi-default user interface. So as you see here on the screen, the days of 10 blue links, map packs, ad listings, travel feeds are diminishing. In its place is an agent chat interface. Now, some might say AI mode has been around for a while, and that's true, but Google making it the default call to action on the search bar is the radical change. So let's not underestimate what that means. Google has rung the bell. They're saying we want people to engage with the chat agent. So this is the biggest shift in 20 years from Google, and it's having a bigger impact than the mobile first indexing change that occurred in 2015.
Okay, great. So then with AI, I feel like it's one of those interesting topics where a lot of people seem to always be talking about it, and some people are still kind of catching up with the impact of it and learning about it. There's AI and LLMs, agents, there's a ton of buzzwords and phrases. Can you kind of thin that out, kind of cut that fat, get them through the noise so that we can understand what the most important lingo to know is and kind of the
Mhm.
implications there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think this is good housekeeping before we unpack more details. Everyone every day is throwing around AI, agents, protocols, but the majority of the market is confused. So let's strip away the fluff and look at how these technologies actually work. So, quick recap on these buzzwords. LLMs, meaning large language model, these are the foundational systems we now engage with when we think of AI. OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, so on. So then AI agents. An AI agent is a system or a program powered by an LLM to perform autonomous, recurring tasks or functions on behalf of a user. So an example, you can build an agent that works inside of your email inbox. When an email comes in asking for a meeting, you don't need to read that email. The agent consumes the request, looks at your calendar, and books a meeting. That's an AI agent. So Google AI mode, right? This is different. This is a different system. This is Google's new dedicated search interface powered by Gemini, which is replacing the traditional blue links with interactive conversational summaries. Okay. Model Context Protocol, MCP for short. This is an open sourced standardized protocol for databases and tools that can provide connections to LLMs and agents. Think of the MCP as a USB port to your database for AI systems. All right, last, Google Universal Commerce Protocol, or known as UCP. This right here is a set of developmental standards that connects Google's AI mode and Gemini directly to merchants. This is what can power buy now buttons, enabling commerce within AI interfaces. The top three things here, very relevant, very common today. The last two are a bit deeper water and have a lot more to do with engineering. But I wanted to share them because I think that they are phrases that are getting thrown around a lot. And again, the last two, truthfully speaking, not very applicable, not something to apply for an independent property manager right now. So hopefully I've shed some light on what these terms are and provided why they matter for the future for digital marketing websites and vacation rentals.
Yeah, there's a lot there in terms of terminology and shifting stuff. I feel like even for us as experts who are really plugged into it, we're kind of constantly having to research that next thing, which again, as part of the cyclical nature, we'll be talking more about in future Real Insights as those things become more pertinent. So then, kind of on that note, Drew, with all these shifts in the tech, what sort of impact are we seeing in the trends of usage and search?
Yeah, when we talk about LLMs, AI mode, we talk about them like they're cool tech toys. But fundamentally, they are change agents, right? They are changing user behavior. And the most disrupted behavior right now is discovery. I mean, I'll put it really simply. AI is taking over discovery. So what is discovery? Discovery is how a user goes from not knowing what they want to finding out the exact answer or product they want to purchase. For 20 years, discovery flowed through Google's traditional search engine results page, the 10 blue links. Some data on this, a recent clickstream study reveals a staggering 68% of all Google searches now end without a click. 68% of users type or speak a query, get their answer directly from an AI overview without ever visiting an external website. This trend represents a sizable change in traditional user behavior. Another way of looking at it, for every 1,000 Google searches in the US, only 232 clicks make it to external websites. So the underlying trend here is Google's shift from a search engine to an answer engine, which asks a new question. If users aren't reaching your site during discovery, how do you reach them?
I have a feeling that Hannah Dylewski, our Director of Marketing Services, can help us kind of fill in those gaps, right? So with AI being primarily used for discovery, kind of talk to us more about what that means in terms of the user experience now on Google and how it relates to the marketing.
For sure. So we know discovery is shifting to AI, but what does it actually look like in the wild? I think is the good question here. This starts with the way we talk to machines. We are moving away from robotic, fragmented keywords and moving toward full conversational queries. The trend results in the decline of the keyword, as you can see here. The average search query length is rapidly expanding. So we've jumped from a historical average of 3 to 4 words up to 23 to 30 words. This is the best way to put it here. The old way, this robotic way, best Florida beach. Now, the AI way, I am traveling with my family of four and two grandparents. We live in Atlanta and don't want to drive more than 6 hours. What are the top three beach destinations that are good for families? Holy cow, that was like 30 words. If there's been a decline in keywords and a shift towards queries, those queries are then becoming conversations. So it is essentially the humanization of search. Look at the top five words that are now starting those modern AI queries. What, how, I, is, and can. Notice the word I and can. People are now bringing their personal identity, context, and permission directly into the search. It's no longer just weather tomorrow. It's can I wear a t-shirt in Charleston tomorrow or do I need a jacket? This is a full-blown conversation, not just a keyword. And to build on that, the follow-up queries have skyrocketed. So conversational follow-up queries inside services like Google's AI mode have increased by 40%. The reality, search is no longer a one and done transaction. It is a multi-turn conversations. Users get an initial AI summary, and instead of leaving or typing a completely new question, they're hitting ask a follow-up question. So great, now take that information and give me the top three that you're recommending. This is exactly why Google built that dedicated AI mode. It's essentially a context retaining sandbox. If your business is only optimized for the first keyword, you are completely invisible by the time the user actually reaches that third or fourth follow-up question when they are making their decision. Mark's question that he had mentioned earlier of just like what content is the most important content to surface, I think is a good place to put here in a sense of
Sure.
we want to make sure that that content is supporting all of those possible queries and those follow-up questions that we can be asking. So, maybe it's, what do I pack for this vacation? What is the weather going to be? What's the typical weather on this vacation? And those sorts of things. So I think you're now looking at that wider net of keywords beyond just that basic transactional keyword to ensure that your content is well built to support those follow-up query answers.
Yeah, and it's awesome because for a long time, we were using blog content certainly as like a discovery tactic, but also to create real estate to put those primary vacation rental keywords into. Now you could take that library of content if you've been investing in it and update the formatting to make it as extractable by AI as possible, and that's going to give you those opportunities to answer. So if you're doing SEO, you have a leg up in this right now.
Mhm.
In terms of kind of how these bigger trends are impacting property managers, though, we work with 200 plus property managers. What are we seeing in terms of the impact on them?
Yeah. Like you said, Britt, RealTech works with over 200 property managers across North America. This is a solid, sample size. To see how these shifts are impacting our industry right now, we ran a mini case study for Q2, examining website sessions, bookings, and revenue across some high volume clients. So here's what we found. Our findings show that traditional Google search and SEO is not dead. So I know that number, about 68% of all search happening in Google is discovery, and that's true, but it's discovery, right? That there is a difference between discovery search and high intent converting keyword, and that's what I'm going to kind of explain here. So traditional Google search SEO is not dead. Calling back to Amber's reporting in the beginning, organic revenue can be down. It's still the primary driver of online revenue. So our little case study shows that the primary driver of sessions, bookings, revenue is still coming from traditional Google search. It's performing perfectly linear and converting cleanly into revenue. The stats are on average in Q2, standard organic search, good old SEO drove 41% of website sessions, 41% of bookings, and 41% of revenue. In turn, when we looked at sessions coming from AI services, Google AI mode, AI overviews, agents, ChatGPT referrals, the numbers look almost invisible in comparison. 0.3% of sessions, 0.8% of bookings, and 0.7% of revenue. If you just look at these numbers on paper, you think AI traffic doesn't matter. It's less than 1%. But that shows just how much AI is being used for pure discovery, but not for conversions as a primary revenue driver yet. The main takeaway, AI owns discovery and in turn has become a filter for low intent sessions. Because of those zero-click searches we talked about earlier, AI is doing the heavy lifting before the user ever clicks. Yes, your organic search numbers will likely decrease because AI is satisfying the casual, non-intent browsers who want an answer. The good news is AI is filtering out the unqualified users. When AI finally sends a user to your property manager website, that user is qualified and has a high intent to book. The bottom line, AI discovery may be decreasing overall organic sessions, but it's not driving a broad decrease in organic bookings. It's cutting out the noise, sending you fewer total clicks for sure, but resulting in higher quality users on your site.
Yeah, and we're gonna kind of keep nailing that big takeaway, but in preparation for this, I think that's one of the most important things what Drew just said is understanding intent and the fact that AI is pulling traffic to an increasing degree, but it's about discovery where you're still going to be able to focus on those converting keywords with organic. Does that hopefully that makes sense to everyone and sticks for everyone because that's an important takeaway for this one.
And I think one other thing too here to add is to just be informed. AI source metrics are now available in Google Analytics. It is being rolled out. So be informed with what those percentages are for your own website to kind of keep that reality check and just, what truly matters. So you're able to see through all the LLMs what percentage of traffic is coming to your website. That's where we're collecting our information. So you all have Google Analytics accounts. I would empower you to stay informed and find that data out for yourself and monitor it to kind of determine that level of priority it is to you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Drew, we're talking about all these trends, we're talking about the insights. We've laid out kind of that difference in intent where AI and organic play into each other. Talk about kind of the higher level industry impacts. And if you will, before you jump into that, Grace has asked for a reminder on what GEO means. I figure you can fold it into your answer better than I can just
It
answer it.
means generative engine optimization. It is the like for like to SEO. We were optimizing for search engines to show up visibility. We're now optimizing for generative engines, which is the LLMs. And again, if Google AI mode is powered by Gemini, then you have to optimize your website and your content for the generative engine. It's the same thing as like AI search optimization. There's a lot of ways to reference it. RealTech settled on GEO as kind of our catch-all term. But
Yeah.
to Britt's question, what does it mean, for property managers in our industry? It means the disruption of legacy acquisition channels that we've relied on for the last decade. But inside that disruption also lies an opportunity for us all. So first, let me kind of list out, dive into what the disruptions are, or what I think the disruptions are. So I'm gonna keep hammering this first one home. The funnel is leaking. As we've said, we are seeing a structural disruption to the traditional booking funnel. The way guests discover, research, and book a vacation rental is changing. Number two, the measurement blind spot. So you're probably seeing it. You're being told by your RealTech marketing manager, expect a sharp decrease in your ability to measure visibility during the discovery phase. When an LLM or Google AI mode processes a request in a zero-click environment, you won't see that footprint in your traditional Google Analytics dashboard. Discovery is going dark. Number three, the flight to high intent paid channels. This got talked about a little bit earlier. Because top of funnel organic search is turning into summaries, we will see an increase in the value of channels that capture or target high intent users who are ready to purchase right now. Example, Google Ads. Somebody typing into Google, beachfront home, uh, Outer Banks with a pool, that's a high intent keyword. That's very valuable now, right? And how you get in front of that user is you pay for a Google ad, right? Um, Number four, the golden SEO question has changed. The traditional question was, can users find my website? Has become a new question. Can an AI agent or an LLM understand our site, trust our brand, and decide our property fits the user's exact need? So you are no longer optimizing just for human eyes reading a Google search results page. You are optimizing so an AI system can crawl your structured data, verify your brand's credibility, and confidently recommend your company to a user. But as I said, with these disruptions, there's also an opportunity. For years, OTAs like Airbnb and Vrbo have been winning a larger share of bookings. We all know this to be true. They're outspending independent property managers with massive marketing budgets. Enter Google AI mode as the great equalizer. Google's ultimate goal has always been to control the user experience and to become the ultimate aggregator, right? They want the user to stay on Google for as long as possible. And they're achieving that with 68% of discovery, right? This could represent upside for property managers. Google does not want to pass all those sessions to an OTA. They want to surface inventory, products, answers directly from merchants like property managers. They do not want to surface it through middlemen like Airbnb. So right at the time where OTAs were kind of running away with a larger market share, this AI disruption could flip the table, right? It could put all of us, direct booking minded independent operators, it could really, really help us. So by using GEO, AEO, structured schema data, and understanding emerging standards like Google's UCP, independent property managers could one day bypass the OTA middleman entirely.
It's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? I mean, what a massive shift to the way that the whole industry's landscape looks as Google looks to consolidate things. You can kind of liken it to like the Google shopping experience. That wasn't there for a long time, and it's really shifted the way that shopping online generally works. That said, what should we be watching for in the future if you're a property manager? What things are coming? What can you be doing?
Yeah, we've seen the data and now we understand some trends. AI is the gatekeeper to discovery, query links are exploding, and zero-click search is real. So what is the play for vacation rental property managers moving forward? I would say, the call here is to balance our focus, balance your focus. We have to protect our brand with human connections and maintain marketing channels that drive revenue, while engineering our websites and digital marketing so that AI agents and systems can read our websites and content. We need to return to marketing basics. AI can summarize facts, but it cannot duplicate human trust, emotion, and hospitality. Vacation planning is highly emotional, and that provides strong insulation. Britt brought up Google Shopping. Booking a vacation rental is not buying a t-shirt. Everyone at RealTech, I say that every day, right? There is insulation at the price point that occurs in this commerce transaction. And that price point is an emotional decision, right? So I think we are far off from users letting an AI agent make that decision for them. So keep that in mind, right? Don't get pushed off the basics. Your website remains critical. Your website is not going away. Its role is shifting in some places. It is and will grow in its importance as the critical communication vector, the single source of truth that AI systems crawl to find your data, understand your brand, your lodging product, your content, and turn that into an answer. So here's a to-do list. Schema and structured data. Your properties must be marked up with flawless standardized code so that AI crawlers instantly know that your house has 3 bedrooms, a hot tub, and allows dogs. The knowledge graph. You need to find the AI ecosystem and you need to feed the AI ecosystem information about your local area, your brand, and your business so that you can be recognized as an authority. AEO best practices. Write content that answers those long 30-word conversational queries directly. Think in FAQ formats, right? Get highly specific with your local information. Tracking visibility. Stop tracking just keyword rankings on page 1. Start tracking your visibility inside AI overviews and Google AI mode summaries. And finally, consider the big picture. The vacation rental managers who win now and in the next 5 years won't be the ones trying to fight AI or trick it. They will be the ones who build an unforgettable human experience for their guests while working with their website and marketing providers to ensure AI systems and agents know exactly why their properties and brand are the perfect match. So this is, like somebody said, I think an important slide, and know, these aren't just words on the slide. RealTech has developed and implemented these standards, right? We've been doing the research, doing the development, and are now rolling them out to our clients and talking about it. So if you have questions, if you have concerns about this, please take this entire hour we've spent as a demonstration of we are very up to speed and ready to help you in these areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I would second that. I want to make note of the time. We're at 1:57. We've got a little bit more information. Want to make sure we're covering everything really well. If you do have a hard stop at the end of the hour and need to go to a next meeting, feel free to do so. We will be sharing the recording, so you can always circle back and take a look. But on our side, we're going to keep pushing along, make sure we get through the content, leave room to answer some questions we got. If you do need to go, have a great day. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Hannah here. What I want us to kind of break down here is, put it all together for property managers. What do you need to take away from this? What do you need to understand about AI's impact on search, how that impacts organic search or doesn't impact organic search, and what we're going to do next, right?
Yeah, thanks, Britt. I'm going to bring us home here. So you have your to-do list, and now I'm going to outline some action items of, what is your next step? So what have we come to tell you today? Changes are happening rapidly, and the trends are so crystal clear. AI is beginning to play a larger role in the marketing and booking funnels. Google AI mode is the signal for change. AI search is not replacing Google organic SEO in traditional marketing channels. It is emerging as a new channel, one that you should definitely define a strategic plan for and then execute. So first thing, what's important for marketers? Return to the basics. As AI changes top of funnel discovery, you must focus on trust, brand identity, emotional connection. Protect your direct channels by making sure that previous guests want to book with you directly rather than relying on an algorithm to surface you. Next, what's important for website managers? Implement table stakes. Make your website fully machine readable. If the new question is, can an LLM understand your site? Your back-end tech stack also has to be ready to do so. Immediate priorities include recapping Drew's list, clean schema, and structured data for every property, keeping your local knowledge graph updated, building out AEO content that speaks directly to those 30-word conversational queries. What's important for property managers? You guys, walk, don't run. Stay calm, play the long game. Walk, don't run towards AI as your primary revenue driver today. Do not panic buy expensive, untested AI tools out of fear. Remember that case study. AI discovery is not driving a broad decrease in organic bookings. It is simply filtering out low intent traffic. Trust your existing direct booking strategies as you plan for the future. Our call to action is talk to us, make a plan. You don't have to navigate this alone. We are very equipped, as you can see today. Reach out to our team. Happy to take a look at your current website health, audit what you currently have in place in terms of your structured schema data, and build a tailored plan to ensure your website is AI approved.
Good stuff. I love that line about walk, don't run. That's what we have to do as experts trying to build the right tools for everybody, is really pay attention to what is changing and not jump at every LinkedIn post we see. It's about understanding with data, with proof, what's impacting your visibility, and then making those changes along the way. And that's the journey that we're on at RealTech. And if you're playing your cards right, that's the journey you're on too. So let us help, right? I want to thank everybody for staying on just a couple minutes late. We do have a little bit of time on our side for some Q&A. I've got a couple questions we got asked along the way, but if you have anything that you feel comfortable asking, that you think other people could stand to learn from, please do put it in the chat or in the Q&A. Otherwise, this is a really interesting question that Grace asked, and I'd open this to the whole panel here. What could the hybrid OTA model look like as a transition away from traditional OTAs?
I mean, any disruption to OTA's ability to acquire bookings, like I was saying, I think it's just going to help balance the source of bookings, probably help achieve more of a hybrid OTA model. Where again, I think we've seen OTAs just they just have unlimited resources, right? So do I think OTAs will go away in their current state? Probably not, right? I mean, they're almost too big to fail to some degree. They have so much market share and so much penetration. But I think the rise of AI and the democratizing of information from Google, right, through AI mode, does represent a threat to their ability to continue to increase their market share in the long haul, and again represents an opportunity for property managers just to be the source, right? Let it be your answer in AI mode, not Airbnb's. And I think that's what the upside represents.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more questions came here, which is great. Grace, you kind of asked a follow-up question there, which is, is that what the on-site chat agent is about? Are you referring to the AI property chat that we use on RealTech sites for clients who opt into that? Okay, great. No, not necessarily. Really, that tool is more about creating conversion on the property detail pages by referring to the property data that you have in each listing so that guests can get quicker answers, faster answers, but also accurate answers that come directly from your information, and then be directed to your team if those answers are not available.
Yeah,
it does not connect externally, right?
No. The chat agent on the site, great on-site discovery tool. I mean, it's taking what again we talk about the changing user behavior. Users are expecting to engage with a chat. That was one of our fundamental reasons for building that is property descriptions are a wall of text. User expectations are changing from I don't want to read, I want to ask a chat, right? So that chat feature on RealTech websites is a mechanism to engage with, to learn about a property. It's not really about surfacing your website in other LLMs. Bill, your question, you are not limited in what LLMs see on your sites because of your software. RealTech, we consume your rental data, bring it over to the website, and make it available from there. So that's our job, right? So I said, your website is now the vehicle to pass this info, pass this data. And we have a lot of ideas for how to do this to do this more as these systems, these user behaviors change and grow.
It's pretty cool stuff. Hopefully, everyone out there is feeling relatively excited about AI versus scared of it. I don't think that we all have to be shooting off fireworks and love it and look forward to every new evolution to be comfortable looking at what it presents in terms of opportunity, how it shifts the dynamics a little bit and creates a new opportunity for people. One stat we didn't cover in this that I think is super important to keep in mind, I just like to repeat it anytime I get the chance, is that in a year-over-year study, Ahrefs looked at the citations and AI overviews and compared it to the top 10 results. In last year, 70% of the time, those citations and answers were coming from those top 10 results. That's down to like 35% this year. And I'd be willing to bet that in the few months since that was released, that's decreased even more. AI is an opportunity if you were chasing it with the right tactics, and we can help you do that. Big thanks to Hannah and Amber and Drew for being on with me today. A lot of great information here. If anyone has any additional questions, feel free to pop them in now. Otherwise, we are going to let you get back to your days. I did include a QR code here on this last slide that you can use to see our AI search guide, kind of looking at what content optimizations you can make, the basics of creating AI extractable content on your website. We also have a ton of great information in the blog about some of the topics we brought up today. Knowledge graph, we just released a brief blog explaining exactly what that is and talking about some ways that you can also track your AI visibility. So be sure to check those out. Email us at info@realtechvr.com if you have any questions. And otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. We look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.